Hey guys, I'm really excited. Today I'm making my first video for the Amazon Ads video series. Over the last few years, my wife and I have spent over $100,000 on Amazon Ads. That includes both Amazon FBA and Kindle Direct Publishing. So we have gotten a lot of experience and we've learned so many tips and tricks, and I'm going to share it all with you. I'm not going to keep any secrets. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to teach you everything I know about ads. This is going to be a 10 video series, so make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss a single video. Also, please let me know in the comments below everything you want to learn about Amazon ads, and I will include all that data for you in the next upcoming videos. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So first, I will show you how to create a proper campaign with all the right settings and without mistakes, so you can get the best results possible. There's a lot of things that one can do wrong with Amazon ads, and I'm going to make sure that you do none of those things. Having bad settings or doing ads incorrectly can be a really big money waster and can also be really sad to see no results. So if you do it right from the beginning, your chances of success are just that much higher. Then second, I will explain all the basic terms you need to know and understand when learning and managing your Amazon ads. Amazon ads can seem really complicated and confusing, but it's only as long as you don't know how to navigate your way around the Amazon ads platform and if you don't understand all the terms. So I'm going to explain everything really simply so you can fully get the concept of everything dealing with Amazon ads. Third, I will give you a complete overview of the entire Amazon ads platform and everything you can do with it, how to manage your ads correctly, and all the important aspects of the ads platform. On the Amazon ads platform, there are so many settings and so many different menu items and so many different tabs that can get very confusing, overwhelming, and just complicated. I'm going to break it down really simply and easily for you so it all makes sense. I would recommend taking lots of notes, or if you want to, I'm going to leave a download link where you can download this entire slideshow with all my notes for your future reference points. The link will go straight to Google Drive, no email address needed, nothing. You can just download it for free with no strings attached. Okay, so to create your Amazon ads, you have two options. You can either go to advertising.amazon.com, or you can get to the campaign manager through your KDP bookshelf. Let me show you how. So if you go to advertising.amazon.com, you can simply click on sign in, then choose the country where you want to run ads, and then click on the advertising console. If you're new, you can just click on create an account on the bottom of the screen. The other way to get to your ads campaign manager is simply getting to your Kindle Direct Publishing bookshelf, finding the book that you want to advertise, and then clicking on the three little dots on the right side here, and then clicking on promote and advertise. That will take you to the campaign manager. And you're going to end up on a screen that looks exactly like this. So once you're here, you simply click on create campaign. Then it will take you to this screen and you just click on continue. Now it will take you to the part where you can actually create a campaign. So first you need to create the campaign name, and I like to be really organized, and I would recommend putting in part or the entire of your book title, depending on how long it is. You can also put your ASIN instead, and then what type of campaign it is. That way in the future, when you have a lot of different campaigns, you can easily see what the campaign is without even clicking on it. So once you have your campaign name, next you can create a portfolio. That's basically creating a folder where you can categorize different campaigns. You could have maybe all your activity books in one portfolio, all your no content books in one portfolio. It's totally up to you. Or you can just skip it. It is not actually necessary. It just depends on how you like to be organized. Next, you can choose a starting date, and by default it's always today's date. And by default there is no ending date. Amazon recommends not having an ending date, so it's best to just leave that blank. If you want to pause the campaign, you can always do it manually. Next, you have to choose your daily budget. That will be how much that single campaign can spend within that 24-hour time period. Amazon recommends starting with $10, but I myself like starting with $5. At the beginning, especially when a book is brand new, you have no idea if the advertising campaign will be profitable or not profitable. So spending $10 a day, you can lose a lot of money really quickly. So I prefer starting with $5 until I can see how the campaign is doing, and if it's profitable, I will start increasing the budget slowly to give it more and more room to run more and more ads. After you put in your daily budget, there's two different types of targeting. First, there's an automatic targeting, which can be called an automatic campaign or auto campaign, and Amazon will do all the targeting for you. There's nothing you have to do. All that you need to do is create a campaign and you can let it run basically. Amazon recommends starting your campaigns with a single auto campaign and letting it run for 2 weeks so you can get enough data. Once it has run for 2 weeks, you can see what keywords and what products are converting for your book or your product, and then you can take those keywords and put them in a manually targeted campaign. And I'll show you how to easily do that in the next video. So for now, I will show you how to create an auto campaign with all the correct settings so you have the best chance of success without wasting any money. Alright, so once you scroll down on your screen, you're going to see a campaign bidding strategy. There are 3 different options. You can do dynamic bids down only, and what that means is if you have a bid of 50 cents per click, for example, if Amazon does not think that your customer who's clicking on the ad will convert in a sale, it will decrease the bid for that click. So you're going to spend less money. So if you like being a bit conservative and slower in spending your money and potentially wasting less, down only would be the right option for you to select. Amazon recommends and by default selects the up and down. So if a customer is browsing on Amazon that Amazon feels like could buy your product, it will charge up to 100% more to get your ad on the top or in the front of the page, so the customer is more likely to see it and click on it. From my experience, up and down can be good, but I prefer starting with down only just because I've had overall better results with most of my campaigns. What I like to do is start with down only first, run it for a few weeks on that setting, and if it's doing really well, I will try up and down and see if the ad continues to do well or even better. If it doesn't do better, I will change it back to down only. So the last option is fixed bids, and basically if you decide you want to bid 50 cents per click, that's exactly what your bid will be every time, and Amazon will not make any changes up or down to it. So once you have selected your campaign bidding strategy, just below it there's an ad group name where you can just name the group, but I always leave that blank. It's totally up to you if you want to make a custom name for it or not. So once you scroll down a bit further, you're going to see this place where you can look for your product or book that you want to advertise. So you can simply type into the search bar the title of your book or the ASIN, or if you want, you can just scroll down until you find the book and then you just click on add. I recommend only targeting one product per campaign, and the reason behind that is so you can see exactly for that one product which keywords and targets are performing well and which are not. If you have, for example, 10 books and you're targeting one keyword, you can't really see which book or which product is doing well for that keyword or not. So it's a bit harder to manage an ad profitably as you don't have the full picture. So with a lot of products, it's harder to control the ad and see exactly what's doing well and not doing well. Okay, so once you have found your product that you want to target, then scroll down a bit further. So here is where you can decide how much you want to pay for each click for this campaign. So on top you have a default bid section where you can put in some price. I would recommend clicking on set bids by targeting group, which will open up this window below, where you can choose how much you want to pay per click for a close match, how much for a loose match, substitutes, and complements. So the close match is what Amazon thinks is the most relevant for your product. It could be keywords or it could be other products that are similar. So if you're selling an activity book, a close match would be something with activity book in the title or some other book that is an activity book. Loose match will still be kind of relevant, but not as much. It'll be a bit more general and the keywords could be a bit more broad and not as specific, but still connected to activity books. Substitutes, it gets much less relevant already, and complements doesn't really have much relevancy. It's more what complements the book. So if you're selling bed sheets, it might show you ads on a pillowcase as example. So you could bid the most money on a close match and then less on loose substitutes and complements. Amazon does give suggestions sometimes, as you can see, but not always. But I found them to be not that accurate, and sometimes it's extremely high. I mean, here Amazon is recommending that you pay $1.31 for a click, which is way too high to be profitable for pretty much any book. So what I have done is create a little spreadsheet for you here where you can see what I would recommend for your campaign biddings. This you can apply for auto campaigns and manual campaigns. I personally prefer going a little bit higher than lower so I can get more data faster, because the higher the bid, the higher the chances are for you to get clicks and a lot of exposure. One thing to just keep in mind is the cheaper the price of your book, the less profit you have. And the less profit margins your book has, the less you can afford to spend on an ad to be profitable. So if your book is $5.99, you cannot afford many clicks unless they're really, really cheap for you to be profitable. If your book is $9.99, you can afford a lot more money spent before you get a sale. So over here, I have created a little spreadsheet for you of my recommendations of how much your bid should be for each campaign, depending on the price of your book. The cheaper the book, the less profit you have, which means you can only afford less clicks. So the cheaper your book, the cheaper your cost per click should be. The higher the book, the higher the cost per click could be, because you have more profits to play with before you get a sale. So the reason it's cheaper if a book, for example, is $5.99 is that you can still get enough clicks to get a sale, because it will take many clicks in most cases to get a sale. Now some products and some niches are very expensive, so you're not always going to get clicks at 20 cents or even 12 cents, but you could try it. And if you're not getting clicks, you just simply increase the price of your bid until you start seeing results. I myself, I like starting high so I can get more clicks and more data faster, but that's just my own preference. You can just use this guide as a guideline and then see what works best for you. So if your book is $5.99, I would recommend starting between 20 and 24 cents. If your book is $6.99, I would recommend starting between 30 and 36 cents per click. If your book is $7.99, I would recommend starting between 40 and 48 cents. If your book is $8.99, I would recommend starting at 50 or 60 cents. And if your book is $9.99, I would recommend starting between 60 and 72 cents. That might seem really high, but at $9.99 your profit margin is high enough where you can afford a few clicks to get a sale at that cost. Obviously, the higher your bids, the higher the potential of clicks is. But just because you bid of 72 cents does not mean that Amazon is going to take 72 cents. It could also only charge you 20 cents. You never know until you run the ads, but the 72 cents bid tells Amazon what you're willing to pay, and it won't go above that. On the other hand, if you bid really low, you're potentially going to get very little clicks and few impressions. But sometimes it's necessary to still be profitable with your campaign. So just a quick tip, if you're not getting any clicks in your campaign, it could be because either you're targeting the wrong targets or your bid is too low. So you can simply try increasing your bid by a few cents or 10 cents and then see what happens in the next few days. And if there's still no change, try increasing it again. Alright, so once your bidding is done, you can scroll down and we get to this part of the screen where you can put negative keyword targeting. Since you're only starting your campaign now, you have no idea what keywords or targets might be bad for your campaign. So we're going to just leave that blank, since we have no idea what's going to be good or bad. But later on I will show you exactly how to use negative keyword targeting to great benefit for your campaign. Alright, good job. So now we're done with the campaign, and you can just click on Launch Campaign and it will go into review for Amazon, and once it's through the review it will go live. You'll always get an email once it's been approved or rejected. Alright, now I'm going to explain to you all the basic terms you need to fully understand in order to manage your ads correctly. After that, I'm going to give you a full overview of the Ads Manager and how to manage your ads correctly. Alright, so if you're on the Amazon search results page, you're going to see normal search results, and then some of them will say sponsored on the bottom of the picture. When you see that, that means that it's an ad and it's not organic rankings. So when your ad shows on a search result page or on a product page, that's called an impression. An impression is when the customer can see your ad. You never pay for an impression, you only pay for a click. So a click is when a person sees your ad and then clicks on it to go to your product page. There's also a term called click-through rate. Click-through rate is the total clicks divided by the total impressions. So if your ad shows up 100 times and one person clicks on it, your click-through rate would be 1%. It is often abbreviated as CTR, click-through rate. So a person clicks on your ad and then he goes to a product page that looks like this. Alright, so the next terms I want to just quickly explain is spend, sales, and orders. Spend is how much money you spent on the campaign from people clicking on the ad. So that is what you owe Amazon, and they will charge you every couple of weeks. Alright, so sales, as you can see here, this campaign has made $10,000 in sales. But this does not mean it's profit. What sales means is it's the amount of orders times the price of your book. So sales has nothing to do with your profit. And orders is simply the amount of products that were purchased from the campaign and not organic sales. Alright, so what is ACoS? ACoS stands for Advertising Cost of Sales. To me, ACoS is the single most important statistic for all of Amazon ads. ACoS will tell you if your campaign is profitable or not profitable. So just by looking at that alone, you can see if you're making or losing money from the campaign. So for example, if you spend $5 in ads and generate $25 in sales, your ACoS is 20%. That is how it's calculated. It is a straightforward measure of your advertising profitability. How do you know if your ad for your book is profitable? I've made this chart here that you can just write down or copy or screenshot, where you can see what ACoS percentage you want to be below for you to be break even or profitable. So if your book is $5.99, your campaign should not be over 20%, otherwise you're going to be losing money. If your book is $6.99, you should manage your ads to be below 25%. If your book is $7.99, then your ACoS should be below 30% to be profitable. If your book is $8.99, you should be below 33%. And if your book is $9.99, you should be below 36%. Obviously during launch, sometimes it's really hard to be profitable. So maybe at the beginning for the first week or two, your tolerance for being not as profitable is a bit higher than once the launch phase is over. But this is just a good guideline that I use to manage my ads. If it's within these ranges, I'm happy, but obviously I'm always trying to lower it. But if a keyword is running at break even, I'm not going to tame it or slow it down, because the sales will help me with organic rankings. So if I'm getting any sales that are profitable or break even, I'm very happy with it. Alright, now let me give you an overview of the entire Amazon Ads platform and explain each part. There are so many hidden compartments and components, and I'm just going to show you everything really easily so you know how to navigate yourself. And once again, you can download this entire presentation slideshow as your reference points for future. So you can always look back on my screenshots and the notes when you're managing your ads. Alright, so when you first get into your campaign, you're going to see all the basic metrics for your campaign, and you can see if it's going up or down. You can actually control what metrics you can see. As you can see here, there's 5 different boxes, and you can unselect them by clicking on the X's and choose different ones. So as you can see, once you click on an X, a new button comes available where it says Add Metric, and it will show you a screen below where you can choose from the 12 different metrics that you want to see. My 5 top favorites metrics that I always like to look at is the amount of money spent on ads, how many impressions I'm getting, how many clicks I'm getting, the amount of orders, and most importantly the ACoS. Once again, the ACoS is how you can easily see if your campaign is profitable or if you're losing money. So these are my 5 favorite, but you can choose any of the ones that you're interested in. Then if you scroll down just a bit on the screen, you can see there's a columns tab, and if you click on it, you can also choose what columns here you want to have. Right now you can see I have the amount of impressions, the clicks, the click-through rate or CTR, the amount of money spent on ads, my cost per click or CPC, the amount of orders, and the ACoS. So if you click on this columns button, this window will come up and you can just select or unselect anything that you want to have in the columns. And just click on apply and it will show up on your screen. So the date range will adjust the charts just above, and it will also adjust the columns just below, exactly for the time period that you select. So if you click on date range, you can manually select on the calendar what dates you want to show, or you can just click on today, yesterday, 7 days, this week, last week, the last 30 days, this month, last month, year to date, or lifetime. Amazon recommends looking at least 2 weeks of data, as sometimes Amazon's data is lagging a little bit behind. So it could show the wrong sales or wrong impressions, wrong clicks, or wrong orders even. So always look at the long enough time periods so you get the most accurate data from Amazon. My preference is to look between 2 weeks and 30 days to see how a campaign is doing, but sometimes looking at 7 days, even the data might not be fully complete, can also be very useful. So under placements, it will show you 3 things. It will show you top of search, and that is on the first page. And you can see how many impressions you're getting, how many clicks, what your click-through rate is, how much you've spent. And you can also customize that, as I showed you just a second ago, on the columns and your date range. I have tried this a few times, but it has never worked too well, so I always leave it blank. But what you can do, if your top of search or your product pages are performing really well, you can increase the percent that you want to bid for the top of search or the product pages. And that's all there is to placements. Next on the menu item, we have negative keywords, and there's actually 2 places within the campaign where you can add negative keywords or targets. So don't put negative keywords into this place. I'll show you in a second where you should rather put them. There's actually a place within the ad group that you can click on where you can put negative keywords, which I prefer putting them there as to this place here. And I'll show you how to do that later on in this video. Next on the menu below negative keywords, we have budget rules. So if you click on that, there's a button where you can click on add budget rule. And this is something that Amazon released not too long ago, and it's actually quite cool. Alright, so the next thing in the menu is the budget rules. Budget rules is a fairly new thing that Amazon added that allows you to have different rules to the budget settings. So for example, if you have a campaign that is set for $5 budget per day, you could add a rule that if your ACoS is below a certain percent and the budget runs out of budget, that it automatically increases it. This is mainly to help during like Christmas periods, Valentine's Day, back to school, just busy time periods. We could manage and increase your budgets automatically. Because if you run out of budget, the ads stop running and you can lose profits and sales from that. There are other uses too, but that's probably the main use you would use it for. So let me show you how to add a budget rule. So when you're on this part of the screen, you click on budget rules and then add budget rule. And that will take you to the screen here you see on the left side. And you can just name it. So you could name it Valentine's Day rule if you're making a budget rule for Valentine's Day. Next, you need to select a type. So you can either have a schedule, and here it says increases your traffic budget during high traffic times or specific date ranges. So you can also select just a time period when you want to have that rule applied for. So you can have a starting date and an ending date. Or you can just have it in general based on other criteria, and I'll show you in a second. So here you can either have it daily, weekly, and if you click on weekly, it will bring down what days this can apply. So you can choose that. I would recommend using budget rules mostly for campaigns that are profitable, or in case they're profitable, for Amazon to automatically increase the daily budget. So the campaign never stops running because it's out of budget. Because then you're losing money, you're losing sales, and it's just not good overall. So further down the screen, you'll see a column that currently says ROAS, and you can change that to ACOS, click-through rate, or CVR. I would just go with ACOS. ACOS, as I mentioned before, tells you if your campaign is profitable or not. So if you click on ACOS, and then if you click on this column that currently says greater than or equal to, you click to less than or equal to, because on ACOS you want it a certain percentage or lower. Okay, so the other box here says greater than or equal to. You can click on that and a little drop-down menu comes up where it says less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or greater than. So with ACOS you would want less than or equal to. So if your break-even point is maybe 30%, you can select less than or equal to or just less than. And then here in that red box, you can put 30 for 30%. So if your campaign runs out of budget and the ACOS is less than 30%, Amazon can increase the budget to continue running ads. So once you finish that, you can just click on Add Budget Rule, and then now the budget will be in effect. You can always change the budget rule or delete the budget rule. It's totally up to you. Alright, so after budget rules in the menu, we have campaign settings, and if you click on that, this screen here comes up. And here you can just simply name your campaign or rename it. You can change or add a portfolio to a campaign, so basically categorize the campaign. Maybe you want to have a portfolio just for activity books or just for coloring books or whatever kind of books you make. You can have a different portfolio for each type of book. Here you can also pause or activate the campaign. Maybe sometimes if you don't have money you need to pause it, or maybe the campaign is just not profitable and no matter what you do and you want to stop losing money, you can just pause it. The other thing you can do is put an ending date, but I would just always leave it blank and rather just pause it and activate it. Here you can also add a budget rule. Below that you have the campaign bidding strategy. So if it's currently on down only, maybe the campaign is profitable and the ACOS is really low and it's good. You want to try and test to see how up and down is doing. So you can click on that and then it will change it. And then you can monitor to see if that's maybe better for the campaign or worse. If it's better, obviously leave it. If it's worse, you can just change it back to down only. And below that, you can also adjust bids by placement. So if you want to increase your bids for top of search on the first page, you can add a percentage increase here. Or if you want an increase in product pages, you can do that here. I always leave that blank just because I've personally not had the best results, but maybe for you, that's different. So it's totally up to you. Alright, so below campaign settings in the menu, we have a tab called History. If you click that, then this screen will come up. And what you will see here on this chart, you'll see dotted lines on different dates. So here we can see on the 10th, on the 11th, on the 12th, different dates, and then here. And what that basically shows you is what days you made changes to the campaign. That can also help you to see if the changes might have been good or bad for your campaign. And if changes are bad, like if you can see a bad change afterwards, and then you can change it back to how it was originally to help your campaign potentially do better again. And below this, you can also change the date range like I showed you before, so you can just click on that and change it. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, above here you can also change the different metrics you want to look at. So you can just click on the X to remove some, or you can click on add metric to add some other metric you want to see. And then on the bottom you can see exactly the changes that you made. So here you can see I changed the budgets quite a lot. You can see the time and date. You can see what it was changed to. You can also see if it went out of budgets. Also, if you add keywords or take away keywords, it will show below here. And it's just an overall useful tool to help you further analyze your campaign. So once the campaign has been running, every few weeks you can check it to see how your history of changes has been doing for the campaign. Alright, so let's go back into ad groups and do a little bit of a deep dive into the actual ad group section. So as you can see on the screen here in the red box, there's a link you can click on. Right now it says Ad Group 1. And this is actually where I do most of my management for each campaign. I spend most of my time managing the ads within this link I'll show you. And this is just where you have the most important settings for your ad. Alright, so once you click on the blue link below, this new screen comes up and you can see you have a chart again, different metrics, kind of like you've seen before. But now you also have on the side here targeting, negative targeting, search terms, ad group settings, and history. So these here are the most important things for your ad campaign. And I'll walk you through each one right now. And as quickly as I mentioned before, you can change the metrics on top by clicking on the X, or clicking on add metric. You can change the columns you want to see below for your book, and you can change the date range. Alright, so going to targeting, right here in the left menu tab, you can now see, I've erased my keywords or targets, but it will show you every single target that your campaign is running or targeting. As you can see, this campaign is targeting just over 170 different targets. You can see what kind of match type it is. You can see if it's delivering or not. You can see the bid. You can see how many impressions you're getting. You can see the clicks, how much you've spent, how much each click is costing you, how many orders you have, and then the ACoS. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that you can sort each of the columns by clicking on it. So you can sort it from highest to lowest or lowest to highest, whatever you prefer. So what I like to do frequently is check all the targets to see how it's performing, looking at the ACoS, looking at the clicks, looking how many orders. And if I notice it's converting badly and the ACoS is high, or there's a lot of clicks and no sales, then I'll start lowering the bids by a few cents, or if it's really bad, maybe 5 cents. It just depends on how it's doing. And if it's really, really bad, maybe now it's gotten 20, 30 clicks and no sales, I would pause that keyword for sure. And that's also where negative targeting comes in. So if a keyword is just not performing at all, you're just losing money, wasting money, you want to negative target that keyword so you don't target that anymore. Once it's a negative target, Amazon will no longer show ads against that keyword or target. So it will save you a lot of money. Alright, so now we're in the negative targeting, and to add a negative target, you just click on negative targeting and then click on the orange button that says add negative target, and then you have two choices. You can either do negative exact or negative phrase. Negative exact will only not show the exact phrase that you're entering in, and if you do negative phrase, you'll do anything that's similar to that. I would recommend never doing negative phrase and only ever doing negative exact match. To me, that's always been sufficient and I've never had any problems with it. And I would also be careful with what you put in your negative targets. Don't add anything too soon. First, always try to lowering your bids to see if that can make it profitable and bring it under control. To me, negative targeting is the last resort. So I only do it if nothing else works. But if you put too many negative targets, your campaign will also suffer from lack of targeting. So don't put too many in there. and only put it when you have to. Alright, so as mentioned, you click on add negative keywords, the screen will come up, you can enter them in. Then you click on add keywords, which will then show up on the right side of the screen here. And then you can simply click save, and now Amazon will stop targeting those keywords. Alright, so moving on to search terms, when you click on that, the screen will appear here. And the first thing you should do is click on date range. By default it's set on 30 days, but you want it on 65 days. 65 days is the longest time period that Amazon will show you the exact search terms. So it's the most data you can get. And obviously the more data you can see, the better decisions you can make. So once you've done that, you can see which targets are performing well, which ones are performing really badly. Luckily, most of mine are doing quite well. So what you can do for keywords that are doing really well or really bad is click on the Actions tab, as shown in this red box here. And then this tiny pop-up window will come up, and it will give you the options of adding as a keyword, adding as negative exact, which is what I showed you earlier, or adding as negative phrase. So if it's really good, like you're getting sales and the ACoS is good and it's profitable, you can add as targets. So that'll give you new keywords to targets, and I would add them as broad, phrase, and exact. That is because if a keyword is converting really well, you want to find as many keywords and targets as possible to increase your campaign, get more clicks, get more purchases, and make more profit. Obviously the whole point of ads is one, to make profits, but the bigger reason for me at least doing ads is to help with your organic rankings. The more sales volume you have as a total, the better your rankings are going to get. So the more profitable keyword targets you can find, the better. So the goal of any campaign is to get as many profitable targets and keywords as possible. Okay, so let me show you what happens when you click on add as keyword. So once you click on that, then this screen will pop up, and on the top it will give you the option to do suggested bid, default bid, custom bid. I usually click on custom bid and select the exact bidding I want to do for all the keywords that are going to be added. And then below that you can see the match type. You can select exact, phrase, and broad. And like I just said, if you're adding a keyword that is really profitable, I would recommend adding exact, phrase, and broad. If you're in a really tight budget, you can either do exact or broad and skip the others, totally up to you, but I would recommend just doing all three of them to get the most exposure as possible. And then below that you will see the keywords you're adding. It will tell you the match type. It will also tell you the suggested bid that Amazon is telling you, but as you can see here, Amazon is suggesting a bid of over $2, so that's quite crazy. So just stick to the bids that you're comfortable with. Don't go too high and spend too much money. And then here in the bids column, you can also manually change the bidding that you want to bid for each of the targets. And once you've done that, you just click on add keywords, and now all the new keywords are added to your campaign. Alright, so below search terms in the menu, we have add group settings. And here you can simply just change the name. You can pause and activate. And this is where you can do your default bid. So to me, the only thing useful in this menu item is just default bid. So whatever your most common bid is for your keywords and targets, you can put that there, and then it will just make it that much easier and faster for you managing your future ads. So moving on to this history tab here, this is the screen that will come up on the right side. And this is where I check the history. Once again, you can see the keywords that are added or taken away. You can also see the bid changes you're making, if you're increasing the bids, lowering the bids. And then on the chart above, where these dotted lines are, is where these changes are happening. So you can see if the changes are helping or making it worse. And if it's making it worse, then you can try reverting changes back to how it was, so the campaign starts doing better again. So a good use for the history tab is like if your campaign was maybe at 15% ACoS, and then a few weeks later it's at like 40 or 50%, that's obviously a really big change. So you want to try and analyze to see what exactly happened. Maybe the change was from one of your changes, or maybe the change is from Amazon's side, or maybe it was just some seasonal trends. You don't know, but it's always best to try and analyze as best as possible, because the more data you have, the better your decisions can be for adjusting your ads. the changes you made seem to be bad, just change them back and wait a week or two to see what's happening with your ad campaign. Hopefully it's then doing better again. So the other thing you can do is click on the gear icon on the bottom left as shown in the circle and click on Access and Settings, and that'll give you the ability to add a user to add to your Amazon ads. Maybe you have a worker or some virtual assistant that you want to hire to manage your ads for you, and then you can give them access without giving them your own login details for Amazon. I would recommend never giving your login details to anyone and just always adding a user to the account. That's the safest method. To me, Amazon ads are one of the most important ingredients to my Amazon success, so I've never hired anyone to manage my ads. I want to be in full control and see exactly what's happening with the ads. Because also if you hire someone, you can't be fully certain if they actually know what they're doing or if they're making mistakes. And if you do make mistakes, it can cost you really badly. You can lose money, you can lose sales. It can have a really big ripple effect into your future career with Kindle Direct Publishing. So if you do want to give access to anyone, be really careful of who you choose, and even then I would still manage and check what they're doing. So if you do want to give anyone access, just click on Access and Settings, and then this screen will pop up and you can just add the username, his email address or her email address, and then you can select what kind of access level you want to give. Do you want to give admin level, editor level, or viewer level? If the person is just going to manage your ads, just click on editor and don't give them admin access because that's not necessary. And then below you can click on customize access, and here you can select if you want them to have access to the campaign manager, advertising reports, billing history, payment settings, or user management. So only give them access to what they actually need. Don't give them more access. It's just not necessary. And then once you have all your settings in place, you just click on the top right where it says invite user, and then the person will get an invitation and he can accept and then log into your KDP ads account. Then below manager account in the settings, you have selling account, but this does not apply to KDP. And then below that, you have third-party applications. And below selling account, we have third-party applications, and there's certain applications and tools that require access to your advertising console. And then here you can see exactly who has access to your Amazon ads, and you can change it as needed. Okay, so that's the end of the first video. I hope this has been valuable information for you and you learned some new stuff. In the next video, I will teach you exactly how to create perfect manual keyword targeting campaigns and all the tricks and tips that I've learned along the years of me doing it. So make sure you subscribe to my channel with notifications on so you know exactly when the next video goes live. See you in the next video.